Hello everyone, I am Julian Morris with another segment of the Channel 5 News. I'm speaking with Parliamentary Representative for the Granby constituency, the Honourable Justina Charles. Granby, as you know, is one of the communities affected by the Hurricane Maria.
For us in Granby, I mean the 18th of September is a day that we will never forget, a day that really ravaged the community. And when we woke up to what had happened, everybody was shocked at the impact that it had on the whole entire constituency, just as it had on the nation. As a result of the storm, well, as you go through, you will see the community. We have had, I can roughly say, about 98% of housing damage, although I say sometimes 100%, because even the people with concrete roofs, you found that most of them had broken doors and broken windows. Every house in Granby flooded that night with water, so everybody had a task to do to dry up water. For us in Granby, one of the things too was, unfortunately, we had 3 deaths, and I mean, every time I speak about it, it is a little emotional to see 3 of my neighbors, not living too far from where I stand now, died during the storm. Although during the day I try to pass around as much as possible to encourage persons to go to place of safety, and even one of those who died, I personally tell her to come down at my home, and she thought she would have been able to stay there, and so she stayed at her home, and only to find in the morning that she was dead. And she's somebody who's very close to me. She's Jennifer Bonney, better known as I Rise for one of the calling programs. People know her as I Rise, Jennifer Bonney. We also had Yvette Leatham and her son, both of them perished in one of the in the Petrocasa houses. So we had 3 deaths there during the storm. We also had, if you pass through, as you drive up to Granby, you will see the extent of damage to our roads. From Maranatha Square to the boxing plant, we have in fact, you can hardly identify where the road itself was. All of that was river, and so we have serious work to do to get it back to make driving easier through the constituency. We also have the Geneva Bridge, kind of slanted a bit, but some work has been done there. We have the Meacham bypass that was washed away. We have the ravine by the primary school a culvert going to the primary school, that in itself was eroded. So we have the Grand Colibri River. We are part of it. The river is not passing on the road because the culvert was blocked. It is still the river is still passing on the road as we speak, but at least the road is motorable. And what I tried to do, though, soon after, by day 2, I mobilized the heavy equipment in the south, because day 1, everybody is in shock, everybody is just in dismay and looking around to see really is that Granby. But then by day 2, we had to put our act together and begin to work. So we had the heavy equipment clearing up roads, so at least we could make traffic within the constituency possible, because we had to take into account the ambulance, the police vehicle, all of those utility vehicles that would have to go through in the event of a sick person, those kinds of things. So we really had to try to do that as much as possible. It took us basically maybe 2 weeks to be able to drive into Roseau, because all of the road was, covered with trees and slides, and as I said, some of the road was eroded. So it took us about 2 weeks to get into Roseau. But thank God now we are able, although it's not to the best, but at least we are able to get into Roseau now. We still do not have access to, well, no lights, and we know light is going to take us some time, because quite a few of the poles are down. In some areas when we were doing clearing, they had to cut some poles to be able to make it, to open the road so that vehicles could pass. We do not have DBS, we do not have mapping, we do not have Kyrie FM, we only have Vibes Radio. We can get Vibes Radio. The past week we can now get Vibes Radio. So that's the only form of communication. DG is up now, but we do not have Lime, and so communication for us is still an issue. I was forced to buy a DG phone so that at least I could make some communicate with some people outside of Granby. So it has been really, really tough, but I think I want to applaud the Granby constituents. I really want to applaud the National Employment Program workers who went out there, and some people who are engaged by Public Works Ministry who went out there and really begin the cleanup campaign. But we had regular meetings in the constituency. Our EOC was activated, so we met almost every 2 days. We met post-storm to see where we are in terms of progress and what is our next step in trying to see how fast we could bring back Granby to where it is supposed to be, and that worked quite well. To communicate, we had to set up a PA system on a vehicle to move through the constituency and inform people, pass the message that we would want to, in relation to mosquito control, management of our garbage, in relation to supplies, distribution of supplies, everything, shelters, everything that we wanted to communicate to the community, we had to use the PA system. I want to also applaud Mr. Regis, who works at Dowasco. At least now, most of Granby, not all, but most of, we can say almost about half of Granby now has pipe-borne water, which is good, because we've been without water for almost like 3 weeks. We were without water. So now that we have pipe-borne water, it makes life a little easier for some residents, and we are hoping that we can get to Tetmon. But in discussion with Mr. Etinoff, he promised for us to get water to Tetmon, we would have to pump, and we need electricity to pump. So we are going to get a generator. They are expecting some generators, so we'll get a generator so we can pump water up to Grand Colibri, Tetmon and Monty to make life a little easier, because they are not as fortunate as some of us down here who have river close to us, so we can use the rivers. So it's really a little hard for them. Even going up to Tetmon Mountain, like I went to Mountain Tetmon today, the second day after the storm, and I tell you, when I get up there, I was honestly depressed when I saw the level of devastation. And to me, up there, we have some serious level of poverty, I would want to say, and it was hard to see where some people are and the way they were living after the hurricane. I have, for example, 3 elderly people, all of them in their 80s, who presently reside in a cellar. I am trying my best to see if I can get them into a house, but you cannot even get a house to rent in Tetmon because all the houses are either occupied or seriously devastated. So it's really a task to get things back to normal, but I have given them the assurance that I will try. In fact, this morning I was in Tetmon and I engaged I tried to see if I can get 1 or 2 builders to get them to begin to work for, especially the senior citizens who are not able to help themselves, and we want to kind of clear off the shelter as much as possible, because we want to see if school can resume in Tetmon using the community center, which was the main area where people rescued, spent the night of the hurricane. So we are trying to see if we can clear this. So in order to do that, we have to identify people to kind of assist some of these people to get their houses at least at close to residential level, so that they can get back to their houses. So it has really been a tedious task. It has been hectic, but the task is there for us to do, and I think if we all put our hands and minds together, we can get Dominica back on its feet as quickly as possible. So I really just want to applaud all of those in Granby who've been working tediously, volunteering their time, their talent, their treasure, whatever they have, to at least try to bring some relief to some of the people whose houses are uncovered, who were able to salvage some of the galvanized and try to fix, although most of those who are fixed are still leaking because the galvanized were damaged. But however, at least they can be in their own home and have some level of independence. So I really want to commend all of those who've been out there working, chainsaw operators. We have, for example, Ashford Lloyd. I cannot not call his name. He's been working with the chainsaw. I mean, he worked every day from 6 in the morning to evening until he's not able to cut in trees to make sure that the roads were cleared. So there were some people who really worked really tediously to make sure we can be at the level. We still have quite a bit of work to do in terms of clearing and tidying up, because we know we want to cut down on the breeding sites for mosquitoes. We have identified some areas in the constituency where we dump things that can be burnt, and we have also dug a hole where we can have our normal household garbage being disposed. So we've done all of that. We also identified an area where we can put white goods and the galvanized until such time that solid waste will be able to accept those things into Roseau. So we have tried to do that in the constituency. So we are doing that, burning on a regular basis. But even then, because of it's not too close to houses, but the smoke can move far distances and the odor. So some people are complaining. So we have now tried to identify another area that we can clear and then they can dump, so we can burn and it will not affect anybody in the constituency. So we have been working hard. I want to thank the heavy equipment operators. I really want to thank all Granbarians. In terms of food distribution, we are trying our best to meet as many people as possible in the constituency. We've identified some areas. In the beginning, we were just running around on vehicles to distribute, but what we've done, that was in the early stages, but at this point, we have identified distribution points, so people go to the points when we have to distribute and collect their supplies. I also walk through the constituency because you may always have people with concerns and complaints and things that they would want you to address. So for the most of last week, I tried to go through various segments of the constituency, walking through, meeting the elderly and finding out how they're coping, how they're managing. So at least we can see if there is any concern and anything that I can do to alleviate the plight that they are going through, that we can do it. Some people who have said they have not gotten any supplies, I try my best to see if I can reach out to them, as far as humanly possible. I also want to commend the nurses in Granby and the police officers who worked very tediously with us, who've been on the ball. And I mean, at one point, I thought, well, yes, the nurses never. It's only now they may be getting a little old. They worked night and day like there was no night. All the time there were people. And they had quite a few people who got injured even after the storm, and they had to attend to them. They had to attend to their regular patients. The pharmacist left Rosa at one point and came up to make sure that she could give them supplies. So they really worked hard. The fire officers, even one of the fire officers, his mother was one of those who died during the time of the hurricane, and he has not rested one day. He really, really worked. That's Marvin, Gregoire, and I really want to commend them for the tremendous work that they've done. I think everybody played their part, and really, but now is the time when we need even more cooperation, more cohesiveness, more tolerance in the constituency, so we can help each other. We have people living at people's home. We want them to be a little tolerant until they get somewhere where they can live. My house basically was a shelter. Up to now, I still have people in my house. My house, during the night of the storm, I had in excess of 60 people sheltering there. My house too suffered some level of damage, but thank God it was not as grave as some people. I had galvanized at my windows, my doors, the entire house flooded except my bedroom. So that is where everybody had to sleep after the storm, stopped. So, but life continues. Thank God we are alive, and He has kept us alive for a reason. So I think now it's time for us to just put differences aside and just cooperate and work with each other to make sure that we can build back Granby and by extension Dominica.
Thank you very much. A reminder, you're watching Channel 5 News. Coming up next, we speak with two principals of secondary schools here as the students head back into the classroom.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Channel 5 News as we continue with our coverage of the post-Maria recovery efforts. Now, as we heard, that Category 5 hurricane affected all sectors of society, and education was not left untouched. For just about 1 month, our school children have not been receiving any formal form of education. However, all that has changed as the Minister for Education announced that Monday, 16th October, a number of schools will resume classes. However, that was delayed to Wednesday 18th due to inclement weather. We are here now with the principal of the St. Mary's Academy, Mr. Thomas Holmes. Mr. Holmes, good day, and thank you for coming on the Channel 5 News.
Good day, and thanks for coming here to get some information about the reopening of school.
Okay, now we heard that a lot of schools would open this week, but not all forms or all classes would come back to the school building. Tell us what's been going on at the SMA.
Well, we did have the fifth formers a bit earlier than the others, but they're all in now, fifth form, fourth form, and third form. We met with the fifth form parents and the students prior to the session today, and then today we met with the parents and students of forms 3 and 4. So I've not gotten the number, but there's quite a number of both third and fourth formers returning. And what we did this morning, as I said, we had a meeting with the parents. We tried to have an assessment where they are, and then we give them some information about coming back, and then when they come tomorrow, they will be engaged in psychosocial intervention. We have our school counselor, Ms. Philogene. She will be aided by myself, being a trained counselor, and then we are looking at 2 other counselors who will be coming in to assist us. So we'll provide them with this psychosocial, and then the teachers will meet after them, discuss the way forward, post Maria. And then on Friday, we're going to continue because we want all the students to get that psychosocial assistance. And we're looking at Monday, starting classes, as before, just that we may have to change the time instead of asking them to come in 8 o'clock, and then we did hear that 9 to 1, but we're asking them to try their best to be there by 8:30 so that you can start on time at 9 o'clock. So we're going to do this, then we may have to adjust the timetable to ensure that all classes are covered like before. So the fifth formers, they're very important to us now because they're preparing for the CXC examinations, and CXC will not change this for one island. So we have to ensure that our students will get the assistance that they need. There's some of them who may not have it at home, like ability to use their laptops and so on. So we have to find a way at school where we have our computer lab, which was destroyed to some extent, but we're hoping that we'll have it up and going very soon. So, but there are also some for farmers who would like to do CXC also. So we have to assist them also. And we may at one time tell them about extra lessons, if it is possible for some, because we know that there are some of them who live far out of town, and then to travel every day could be a challenge. As a matter of fact, we have a parent who's taking in, she and her family can take in about 4 students. And then she is providing a home, they have generator, they have transportation, so it's not a problem for the students to come from where they are to school. So if you can do that, so there are a couple of students who have already taken this opportunity and they will be living with this family. So that is how we are hoping to. And then we are hoping that our first and second farmers will come in sometime next week, because we are looking at Wednesday, Thursday, but an announcement will be made later on. Because the space is available, our building, the structure was really the new wing, about 4 galvanized sheets were blown off. So right on the other side, so we're hoping to have this fixed, before the end of this week.
Now, as we had mentioned the 4th and 5th formers and the importance of the CXC exams, can you speak to us in terms of figures, as in how many students, to your knowledge, have traveled overseas to continue their education? Yeah,
we know that there are about 12 students confirmed, 5th form students confirmed have already migrated. Now, with the 3rd and 4th formers, as I said, we just finished a session, so I've not gotten the information from the teachers as yet. But I believe that we have quite a number, because we met in the cathedral chapel, the parents and the students, and I think almost, well, I cannot say almost all, but there were many students, 3rd and 4th formers. So we expect to have a large number, a usual large number, because 3rd form is the largest form, because we have 4 classes for 3rd form, and there were quite a number of them today. So by tomorrow we will assess, because what we're also doing is students who lost their books, we're also asking them to give us a list of all the books that they lost, and then we're going to find replacement for them. Uniform, we don't want them to, they don't have to come in uniform this term. But then the thing is, I commended a young man this morning because he was there in complete uniform, complete uniform, crest, shirt and all. So maybe he had this hidden in a plastic bag or something, I've made the joke with them that I will not be wearing, because I like to be professionally dressed, so I usually have my tie and so on. So I said I will not even bother about that this term, So all we're asking them is to dress decently, and so on. And then, as I mentioned to the parents and the students, both for 5th formers, 4th and also 4th and 3rd, education is the main thing. I said to them, only one thing I lost in the office was the book written on a demerit, detention, suspension. I do not expect the students to come and get themselves in trouble. Expect them to come and respect each other, obey their parents, respect, and do not disrespect the teachers. If you do that and you do your work, you do your homework and so on, so we expect that you will do well. So the demerit books and those things are not in contention now. I just want them to come to school and do what they're supposed to do.
Okay, and as the entire country is recovering from the ravages of Hurricane Maria, what message would you like to leave for our viewers, parents and even students as we move forward from this Category 5 storm?
Well, you see, it's going to be challenging, and that is why psychosocial intervention is very important. But we also want the parents to keep on, like a support for the children, their children, is to keep on talking with them And then if they have to go on, then they can notice one or two very quiet, withdrawn. Talk with them and let them know. If they can't, or they don't feel they have the expert ideas, to approach that, what you can do is to find a counselor somewhere. Go to welfare division. Well, our school, our students, we have a school counselor. And as I said, I'm also a trained counselor. And then we are going to have a pastoral care coordinator in place. So all these people, and then the homeroom teachers themselves, the students can come. But at home, talk to them, find out what they're doing, and then ensure that they know that there is somebody for them. Don't just leave them on their own all the time. Tell them take their books, when they're getting tired, take a break, and so on. But especially for first and second formers who are not there, that is the time that as we move forward, they should be really taking their books, going to their books, and then see what they started when they came in early September, and then just continue, prepare themselves for when they come next week or around that time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Holmes, for coming on the Channel 5 News, and have a good day.
Thanks very much, and same to you and your viewers.
Another one of the secondary schools in the Roseau area which we visited is the Convent High School. We're here the principal, Miss Isabella Prentice. Good day, and thank you for joining us, Miss Prentice.
Good day.
Okay, now we know that school has been in session for the CHS for about 2 weeks now for the 4th and 5th formers, and the 3rd formers came in today, Wednesday, 18th October. Tell us what's been going on at this school in terms of psychosocial support to the students, or what they have been doing since they've been back at the school.
Okay, we started some 2 weeks ago, but we stopped to make provisions for the 3rd formers, because when we started, we realized we could bring in more students. So we stopped, we cleaned off more areas, we applied the tarpaulins and so on, so we could bring in the students and so on. The 4th and 5th forms had their psychosocial sessions when we first brought them in, so we were good to go by the Thursday, Friday. The 3rd formers who came in for the first time today have been having that, so we've looked at it. Staff, we met as a staff and we discussed everything, and people spoke of their experiences, and just giving each other, and just actually being together as a community is enough support that we know there is light at the end of the tunnel, because we're actually carrying each other forward. School-wise, we are doing much as we can. We are on a new skeleton timetable. A lot of hiccups, a lot of hitches, but we are trying something. And the lower school we cannot bring in until we are sure that the 4th, 5th and 3rd works fine, because you have been an old girl, you know the combinations in convents. Until those combinations work out, we can't bring anybody else. And when we do bring them in, it will be on a shift system, because you notice that our whole top section, we've lost part of our roof.
And in terms of the students who have been back at the school, what has the response or reaction been like from them towards being back in a school environment?
I think most of the students are quite happy to just be out of home at that point. They may love home and so on, but they prefer to be back at school now. And they're happy because yesterday, sitting there, although they said no school, some first formers came and asked me, Miss, when are we coming back? I met some parents asking me, give them a timeline by which they're going to be back. I think the students here, they're enjoying what is it they have for the moment. It's different, it's unusual because they're techno children, and they're now in a system without the technology, without the electricity. I think when they look back on it, they will have an experience which they can speak about later on.
And what is the way forward you see and your staff see for the Convent High School in the wake of Hurricane Maria?
1 month after Maria's way forward is just for us to take it one day at a time and just chew it as slowly as we can and just move forward and just keep every day looking to new opportunities and so on. As I said to them this morning, let us every week take it as a look for a gratitude. Let's have a gratitude challenge, and every week let's do something that we should be grateful because we've been spared for some reason. So let's think of, we don't know what the purpose is, but let's be grateful for something that is there every day as we go forward.
And to the general public viewing and even the parents and students listening, what is your message to them as the Convent High School moves forward from this effect?
Message is we need to stick together, we need to move forward together. It's just unity and to support each other. Because, I mean, we will rebuild. We will rebuild, but we can only do it together. And all we have to do is just pull our collective wheels together, hold each other, support each other, carry each other forward. And we will get there.
Thank you so much for your time, Ms. Prentice.
You're welcome.
Okay, and there we heard from the principal of the Convent High School, Ms. Isabella Prentice. This is Angela reporting for Channel 5 News.
Coming up next on the Channel 5 News, we speak to an official of the Dominica Hotel and Tourism Association on the impact of Hurricane Maria on the hotel sector.
Dominica, the nature isle of the Caribbean, a place where a lot of nature lovers come to visit and enjoy what this country has to offer. Now, on the 18th of September, it was dealt a major blow, and of course, hotels and tourism here was affected. Now, Kevin A. Francis, the Executive Vice President for the Dominica Hotel and Tourism Association, is going to give us his account of what transpired after the hurricane.
Well, like the majority of Dominica that was affected, the hotel industry was not spared. We know that from our membership, close to about 90% of our members were either severely or catastrophically damaged. And now, putting that into perspective as it relates to the entire industry, that's about 50%. You know, the entire industry has been affected, and another percentage, a small percentage, are operational. So we have about 30, a little higher than 30 properties right now that are affected minimally, and some with without damage. I mean, that seems very, you know, miraculous, you know. But there are a few properties that were spared, and these properties do have rooms, and they are operational. You know, a lot of our properties are now housing some of the aid workers that have come to help in the relief of Dominica. But on a whole, the tourism industry has been severely damaged. It's handed a very big blow. And right now, what we're doing as the DHTA is try to assess the damage that was caused. I know the Discover Dominica Authority and the Tourism Ministry had a press conference today, you know, speaking to some of the updates on the state of the industry. And they have, in fact, gone to all the properties. We have been able to help them as well, go along and visit some of our members. They visited some of the sites, and now they're formulating a state of the industry. And DHT as well is doing something similar, but for its members. So we'll be meeting shortly with the rest of the board and chart out a way forward for the industry.
Now, moving forward, of course, after this monstrous Category 5 dealt a blow to the hotel industry and impacted tourism significantly, of course, what's the next step in moving forward to try and get things back to probably not where it was right away, but eventually there?
Right. Well, right now we're working with several organizations and associations around the world, more closer to home. We are working with the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association. We've been in close contact with them in terms of formulating short-term, medium-term, and long-term plans. One of which would be a reorientation, I would say, of the direction of the tourism industry, because as you know, we are an ecotourist destination, and with the blow from Maria on the 18th, you know, that left a very large percentage of our tourism product damaged. You know, so right now in the short term, we have to start strategizing as to what we're going to do, who are we going to contact, and how we can actually get this engine, this economic engine called tourism working again. As you may know, we contribute to, you know, one of the largest portions of foreign direct investment, as well as getting the GDP going. So along with the private sector, we're speaking with directly with the Prime Minister, the DAIC, the DBF, and other private sector associations are already in talks with the Prime Minister, with the Ministry of Trade and Commerce, to chart a way forward. I know that we are advocating for a public sector, private sector coalition as it relates to rebuilding of the industry, and we're hoping that these discussions will be fruitful, and the government will take some of our recommendations. I know that one of the recommendations that we've put forward as DHTA would be the lowering of the barriers to entry for the $15 million loan facility that was afforded to the tourism industry a few years back. That's one. We're also looking to change the direction of the entire tourism industry in terms of where we're going and what kind of tourism that we're going to take advantage, what niche markets we're going to take advantage of. And also where we're asking for some subsidization, some concessions, grant funding, loan funding for some of our members. Like I said, everybody has been dealt a blow. They're definitely going to need persons to clear the debris, You know, we're going to need some capacity building as well for more resilient structures, for renewable energy, and just to make us more climate resistant, you know. And hopefully we can take into account some of the lessons learned from Erica as well as Maria.
Kevin A. Francis reporting on the impact of Hurricane Maria on the tourism and hotel industry. I am Kenny Williams reporting for Channel 5 News.